Hey everybody, it's Georgia Rose from Zenkuda, and as you can see, I'm not in the studio today, but welcome to the Soul Space Podcast. For those of you tuning in for the first time, I am Georgia Rose. I am a psychic intuitive and an astrologer, and I am here live in usually my studio every Monday night at 7 o'clock for the Soul Space Podcast. So as you can see, I'm not in the studio today. I'm actually spending a little bit of time out in the country and staying in a tiny house. And I have to say, it's really interesting because I always glamorize it whenever I look at tiny houses online, and they're adorable, and I'm actually having a very nice time. But I will tell you that it is more glamping than living. So welcome to the show. So I am here, as I said, every Monday night at 7 o'clock. And usually on the Soul Space Podcast, I try to be inspirational. I am not an influencer, but I hope to be an inspirer. And this show is about a lot of things to do with the occult and getting into our soul space and in touch with our soul space. We use tools such as astrology and healing, tools like Reiki. I do a lot of tarot card readings to help us find that space within of our deep intuition. So welcome to the show. Today I am going to talk about the astrology for the next week because I will not be doing a show on Memorial Day. Monday of Memorial Day is a holiday here in the States, so I'll be taking some time off with some loved ones and some things that I'm doing. But I did want to give you the general rundown because I know that Memorial Day weekend is usually a very busy weekend and a weekend for us to start our summer. And it also starts the energy of June, believe it or not. So a few things that are happening right now. I'm just going to, if I'm looking down, it's because of my notes. But we have a lot of Gemini energy coming in the next week and towards the end of May. That is normal as the sun goes into Gemini. But we also have a new moon coming in Gemini and some other really big transits that are coming in. And from time to time, I also do individual videos on my YouTube channel. So if you want any more in-depth information about the astrology, please subscribe to that. That's Zenkuda. And you'll find me there giving a little bit more in-depth information about the astrology and some other energies that kind of come forward. So let's dive right into it. This is going to be a little bit of a shorter podcast because I've got things to do. And that forest behind me looks so pretty. I can't wait to take a really nice walk today. So today I am actually recording this on May 18th. And today the sun is actually right in the same position as Uranus. Now I talked about that a little bit on my last video, what that energy is like. But if you think about whenever two planets come together, what happens is the energy of each planet becomes amplified because now they're really together in one area. It's almost like being in a tiny house with a couple of people and you're stuck in a small space. It can feel good if you really love the person and like the person and you get along, or it can feel a little stressful if the planets have two different energies. So it's like that in astrology too. So the sun is our life force, it's our vitality, it's our energy. It lights things up. So when it comes in contact with another planet, of course, it's going to energize that planet, right? All of us know if we have 5 days of no sun, we get kind of dreary. And then when the sun comes into our space, we feel revitalized. Well, that's what the sun does when it hits a planet. So Uranus is a planet of awakening, but those awakenings can sometimes be sudden and shocking, or they can be really, inspiring as well. It can be good, right? We can have good luck, we can have a reward, or we can have a time when something happens that seems to be very shocking. But just remember, anything that occurs when the sun and Uranus come together in the sky, it's happening for our betterment, right? It's not happening to us, it's happening for us. So we need to work through it, find inspiration in what we're really being shown so that we can really be a better person and get in touch with our higher self. And also maybe resolve some things in our life that we didn't want to look at, because the sun illuminates things and gives us the illumination we need to proceed forward in our lives. In Taurus, where the sun and Uranus are conjunct, which means together, Taurus is an energy of stability. It's an energy of it's a fixed energy. So it can be stubborn. It can be showing us something that's very rigid in our lives, or where are we rigid? But Taurus is also about self-preservation. And where do we protect ourselves with complexes that we run that are prohibiting us or blocking us from moving forward in our life? So when the sun hits Uranus in Taurus, many times we'll start to have an insight or a revelation or a message about something we need to change because we're blocked by it. And in this energy, we also have some transits happening with the planet Chiron. And Chiron is the place in our charts where we bring in a wound, something we're meant to heal in this lifetime. And so, with an energy like the Sun, Uranus, and Taurus giving us awakenings and revelation, and then these sextiles that are going on with Chiron, it gives us an opportunity to take those things that are being revealed to us with Sun and Uranus, and those mostly seeing those things, those areas where we're held back. And we have a great opportunity to heal those things with Chiron in play the next couple of weeks. So this is intense energy, but it's also energy that can really bring us to a place of maybe opening up things that we've never opened up before in our life if we really use it for that inspiration. So that's happening today on the 18th, that Sun-Uranus conjunction. The sextiles I'm talking about with Chiron is Mercury and Chiron were conjunct earlier in the month. And also we have, just looking down at my notes, sorry, as I said, not in my studio. And we have some other things happening with Chiron and Aries. Chiron and Aries is an energy that comes through and shows us what needs to be healed, but it makes us want to take action on it. It's not like we're going to sit home and cry about it or keep repeating and regurgitating the same things like, oh, my mother was an alcoholic. Oh, my father was emotionally unavailable. It's not like that. In Chiron and Aries is, my mom was an alcoholic and I want to break the cycle. And so I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. When Chiron is in Aries, where it's been for a while, will remain for a while, it's really an energy that makes us take action for our healing. So if you have any revelation or any insights that come up, especially, when you're in quiet time, and especially when you're in nature, like the beautiful trees behind me, because again, Taurus is that stability, it's earth, it's fixed. It's an energy that's going to really make us feel embedded in nature, and nature in this energy is an area where we really can find inspiration. So take your walks, get out there and do all those things. So the next thing that we have this week is on the 20th, which is, I believe, Monday. The sun enters Gemini. And that's when the Gemini energy starts to really get illuminated in our chart. We have had Jupiter in Gemini for a while now. Jupiter is getting ready to go to Cancer, which it will do in June. And the sun being in Gemini with Jupiter in Gemini, which Jupiter expands everything, means the illumination and the energy of that archetype of Gemini is really going to be heavy and in play this month, heavily emphasized. Gemini is not a heavy energy. Gemini is an energy that is very sparkly, very distracted. Sometimes when we have a lot of Gemini energy working in the sky, we can be flitting from one thing to another. It's hard to keep our train of thought. And we also have some things happening, not just the sun going into Gemini this next couple of weeks, but we also have that new moon in Gemini coming in on the 27th, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. But when you have Gemini being really heightened, and this is every year this time of year, the sun is in Gemini, but doesn't always happen where Jupiter is there. So with Jupiter in Gemini, this is going to bring benevolence and good luck when the sun reaches it. It's also going to bring expansion. Wherever you have Gemini energy in your chart, look what house that is, because when the sun goes into Gemini, especially with Jupiter there, you're going to find those themes and those things expanded. Now, usually Jupiter is a benevolent energy and it works to expand really great things in our life and gives us rewards and good things. But Jupiter in Gemini and the sun in Gemini can also emphasize anything in your chart that is in your Gemini area that isn't good, that you've been avoiding, that you've been overlooking. Those things will really come into play now, and you're going to get poked with them quite aggressively, because with those two planets coming together, remember, the sun lights up whatever it touches, and now the sun is lighting up Jupiter, expanding the energy, that big gaseous ball of a planet. And so if there's something in the Gemini area of your chart that you haven't really been working to expand in a good way, if there is something that's a tension or a stress or a detriment in the Gemini area of your chart, it will be expanded in the next couple of weeks and into June. What kind of things can those be? Well, Gemini things are anything to do with our thoughts, our focus, depending on what house it's in. Like I actually have Gemini in my 7th and 6th house, which means in my everyday routine, which means that sometimes I can be a little bit scattered by nature. Now, people who know me know I'm very organized and I'm very detail oriented. That does not come naturally to me. That's something that I work at every day of my life and that I'm really very disciplined about. And the reason I've become self-disciplined about those things and organization is because I know for me, with Gemini in those areas of my chart, of my daily life, and also my relationships, that if I don't do things methodically and strategically, there will be chaos. So I always, if I do have a couple of super, super busy days and I can't get to my regular detailed chores or protocols, I take a day or an afternoon and go back and do them, because it's very easy with a chart like mine for things to be out of control, and I don't have a life like that. And so I know that I make sure everything is where it is. And sometimes people even will make fun of me because even my pantry or my clothes closets, everything is very regimented and in place, color coded and everything. But that's because my life is very fast paced and I'm very production oriented. So I can't spend time 20 minutes looking for my shoes in the morning. And I know when I was much younger, that could have been my personality. So I had to work very hard to overcome what really is my nature and discipline myself so that I have a betterment about how things are going and how my daily life proceeds. So that's just one example. So look and see what house Gemini is in your chart, because that's really going to be highlighted this month. And so, just focus on that area and maybe ask yourself, where is it that maybe I could have an improvement? And where is it that maybe I can, put a little more focus and take the time to do that? One of the things that's really helpful when we have a lot of Gemini energy is using something as a trigger, maybe 2 or 3 times a day, or maybe setting an alarm on your wristwatch or whatever. And when that rings or that you hear that sound, it brings you back into just grounding for a few moments and thinking about, okay, let me just, get in touch with myself. How is my day going? What do I really want to accomplish? What is today for? And in doing those things, you really will find yourself much more focused and organized in your life and less forgetful. And that's a good practice to do anytime, not even just when Gemini isn't really a heightened sky. What I find is in having those kind of practices and just every once in a while breathing, sitting, slowing my roll, I become much more productive than when I'm, trying to do things very fast and be the first one in and blah, 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 blah. I find that we expend more energy working in our lives in that way. So that's just a little tip about the Gemini energy that's coming in. Another thing with the Gemini energy is that when the sun is in Gemini, it really focuses on our identity. And Gemini is also communication and curiosity. So one of the ways to really use Gemini is for that curiosity to be something really productive in your life. One of the things about Gemini energy and people who have a very heavily focused Gemini chart is they can be, like I said, very scattered. And they're the type of person that'll be like shiny object. Like anyone who's walked through a shopping mall with me knows, like, I'm going to drift and all of a sudden you'll turn around and I'm not walking with you anymore, because that's my Gemini. Sparkly objects, really attract me. So I've had to control that in certain environments, especially with my work and, my work that I do here with my videos and Zenkuda. And that means a lot of discipline and self-focus. But in my life as a real estate broker, because that's a business that will really pull you away in a million different directions. So I've adapted and learned to use my Gemini energy of being able to multitask and multi-focus in that environment, and then able to bring it down in other environments. So if I'm relaxed and I'm just, shopping leisurely and there's no time clock, I will be very distracted because I allow myself to be indulged in my nature in those moments. But when I know I have tasks to do and an agenda, then I pull it in. So that's the way Gemini energy works. But the best use of Gemini energy, and this is what I find is the best way when we're overstimulated to use it to our advantage, is the most beautiful thing about Gemini energy is their curiosity. So how do we learn? We learn through curiosity. We learn through being curious about something. If we were never curious, nothing would ever seem new to us and we would never learn. So in this energy, we have a beautiful energy that we can really tap into of being curious, like even looking behind me at these beautiful trees. Well, what kind of birds or animals are in there? What would I see if I walked in that path? And developing a love of that instead of a fear of the unknown. And that's something that I have worked on a lot in my life. I'm still working on now, because Gemini energy can give us anxiety about what's, behind the door. What is this book about? What is this person's personality? And if we can use that to our advantage and take it as a love. And so one of the things that I've been also working on with my communication in 2025 is when I speak to people, and especially when I meet someone new, that nervous and awkwardness that we always feel in the beginning, I try to cure that by being curious in a very soulful way and trying to communicate. Gemini energy is communication, and trying to communicate by not just focusing on the words they're saying, but focusing on what's behind the words. Like, what does this person really need? Why are they saying what they're saying? Like, what's really going on here? And by doing so, you really become able to have deeper relationships. Even if it's a relationship that you only know someone for 5 minutes, it's still a relationship. We're relating to everything in the world. Our lives are based on connection and relating. And with Gemini energy, if it's used in the wrong way, we're rushing around all the time and we're not really relating to anything, and everything becomes a stressor. So if we can use the Gemini curiosity as part of our relationship with the world and with people and with things, we're going to find ourselves much more relaxed and in the higher octave of all this beautiful Jupiter and Sun in Gemini energy. So that's my advice with this next couple of weeks, especially as Memorial Day weekend comes in. So we have the Sun entering Gemini, and that will be, as I said, focusing on our identity, our communication, our curiosity. Expect to be mentally stimulated. Expect your social interactions to increase. So Memorial Day weekend is always a time when we get together, but use it as learning opportunities. Learn about people, even if it's family members that you've known most of your life. Sit with them and ask them a question, really good thing to do. And so the other thing is, I would say music, because Gemini loves just to be distracted. And I play music in my home all the time. I play music in the car, and I try and switch it up a little bit. Like, don't just play the meditation music and that stuff. Sometimes you'll come in and I'll have other things on. I try to also listen to channels that I would never listen to. Even like, I'm not a huge country music fan, but I have a tendency to listen to that sometimes just to learn new things and new sounds. And the other reason why I do that is because it puts me in a new memory field, because a lot of times music reminds us of things and brings us back to a time. And sometimes when I want to have fresh ideas and new ideas, I'll play new music, because then I don't have any preconditioning or any memory field that's coming forward. I'm being inspired in a really new way. So use that curiosity to bring new things in. We also have Venus conjuncting Uranus in Taurus, and Venus is our beauty, our love of beauty. It is our value systems in our life as well. So when Venus comes into play in our chart with a sign like Uranus, you're going to find yourself wanting to rebel, wanting to change up your value system. Oh, what's on here? See, my Gemini energy. I'm always taking notes. So when we, I got distracted. See, perfect for this video about Gemini energy. Hope you guys are laughing with me. So when Venus in this part of the sky is going to make us want to do new things, new loves, new relationships, new value systems. Do I really love that thing? Maybe not. I need to try something new. So just keep in mind, but also remember, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Sometimes it doesn't mean a whole new relationship. Sometimes it means just doing something different in the relationship, getting out of the rut. Maybe it doesn't mean throwing out the job or the way that you make a living, your value system, but it means tweaking it and adjusting it, because we're going to have a lot of adjustment coming up in the rest of 2025. And then I want to talk a little bit about the new moon in Gemini, and then I'll go further into that a little bit. The new moon in Gemini, again, is going to be, new moons are new beginnings. It's going to be about communication, ideas, connections. Expect deep insights, powerful conversations, because Gemini is communication. So whenever we have a new moon in Gemini, you're going to find communicating and powerful messaging can come through, especially if you are meditating or in yoga. You'll also find yourself having new conversations, like maybe you're in a relationship for a long time, but now you have a conversation that you've never had before. That can really come in this energy as well. And I'm just going to look at my notes for 1 minute. And I'm sorry, I know I'm not as organized as I usually am, but okay. So I'm sorry, I'm just looking down at my notes. So I want to get back to that Venus energy. Venus represents love, beauty, and harmony. So remember, when we're having these new things that Gemini brings in, and Venus is also in play in the chart, it's actually conjuncting Neptune. When Venus comes in and conjuncts Neptune, it's an energy of being inspired in a very spiritual way. It's connection. So remember, whatever is revealed, love, finances, whatever it is, it's time to just change the pattern. I guess that's what I really want to say. It's time to change the pattern. It's time maybe not to throw out the whole idealism or the whole relationship or the way you relate to your job or your learning or whatever it might be, but it's time to change a new pattern on that. All right. So now the other thing I wanted to talk about is, before we get to that new moon, on the 24th, the sun is trining Pluto. Now the sun at this point is going to be in Gemini. Pluto is still in the beginning phases of Aquarius. So this lights up Pluto to give us revelations about our individualism and what is unique to us. So with all the other energies that I was explaining in the sky, you really want to make sure that, again, you're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater, because we're going to really be tweaked to be unique, a little rebellious with Uranus and the sun together. But the sun is illuminating those things. So it's doing it for our betterment. It's doing it for our good, for our inspiration, so that we actually become better humans. So remember, whatever comes up, because when Pluto's involved, especially in Aquarius, it's going to try and show you your own specific uniqueness. So whatever is involved, try not to bring in shame, fear, those negative emotions that will come in when we feel kind of defeated, or we start to feel down on ourselves. We start to feel like, I've had this issue or this thing I've been trying to work out my whole life and it's just not working out the way I want. Try not to go into that energy, because again, like I said in the beginning of the video, there's a lot of healing that can take place in this energy. So when the sun and Uranus in Taurus bringing up our fixed energy, it's bringing up our stability, our self-protection, and Pluto's coming in to give us the revelations about those things, to make us see the things that are deeply embedded in us. It can be a very tough energy. It can be an energy where maybe we don't really want to look at those things. Maybe we don't want to do the work to become better and healed. But in this energy, you really have to make sure that you're understanding that those things are happening for us. The reason why they're happening is because Pluto in Aquarius's main goal, where it will be for the next 20 years, is to bring us not only into our own unique space and our own unique individuation, but it's also to do it in self-love. We're coming from generations of shame. We're coming from generations of people who have been in detriment from abuse. This was very heightened in certain elements of generations, baby boomers, Gen X's, and we've lived with a lot of trauma. And so in an energy like this, that can really come up, but it's not coming up so we wallow in it and stay in it. If you're in a group or you have friends that, number one, don't understand your trauma and don't allow it to be significant, don't allow it to be noticed. If you're around people who don't allow your trauma to be I'm sorry, I can't find the word that I'm looking for because it's so deep and I want this so much for all of you. It has to be really noticed in a way that it happened, that it's yours and it's uniquely yours and it's doing things within you to make you uniquely you, to bring you to a place of empowerment. Whatever that disempowerment is, it happened, it's real, and we have to acknowledge it, is the word I'm looking for. It needs to be acknowledged. And have someone tell you, I'm sorry this happened to you, and then release it. This is that energy. And the new moon in Gemini is going to really give us the opportunity to do that. 2025 is a pivotal year because of all the planets we have changing signs. And this month, Saturn also changes sign right before this new moon, right around this new moon time. Goes into Aries, where Neptune is, where we have this Venus energy. And what it's saying is emerge in a new space. Look at the patterns in your life, look at where the wounds are, look at where the healing needs to take place, and emerge anew. And if we don't do that this year, then 26, 27, and 28 are not going to go super the way you want them to. 2025 is the pivotal year where we really have to do this healing. We really have to take this energy that's coming up and making us grief-oriented, making us wallow, making us be in the trauma. Sit in it if you have to, and then stop and move forward. But find someone, the groups that you're in, your family, a loved one, your family of choice. Find someone that can acknowledge the trauma that you've had, allow you to move forward in it, and understand that the reason it happened wasn't so that you can sit on a couch and cry about it, or block things from being open in your life, or from, having all of these restrictions that we put on ourselves because it's too scary. Oh no, don't go there. No, this energy is an energy that wants to bring you into the light, wants to illuminate it so that you can see that it's been blocking your individual soul space from becoming the full potential that you can do in this lifetime. And I know this is very serious and it sounds like very heavy energy, but the beauty of this is if we can go into this heavy energy and emerge with the sparkly, twinkly illumination of, wow, I understand why I had to go through this, because boy, is it really a gift in the end. If we can emerge from that, then this trauma that we carry our whole lifetime, we're not carrying it anymore. Now it's become something that's propelling us forward and giving us the assertion and the illumination and the motivation to go out and overcome it, and maybe even help other people do the same thing. Because like I always say, there's the breakdown, and then we have the breakthrough, and we get all these revelations. And if we're brave enough, and we have the valor enough, and we love ourselves enough, we look at those revelations in order to understand what are the jewels we need to take from them so that we can live a really enriched life. But then it doesn't stop there. And this is the third point that maybe only 3% of the population ever do. And that's the breakout. You have the breakdown, you have the breakthrough. It's great, life's good. But then there's a breakout. And that breakout is the whole reason it happened in the first place. So that you can break out and hand someone back. Someone who's still sitting there on the couch crying about the same trauma you went through or something similar that brought on the similar emotions. And now you can reach back and bring them forward and say, let me hold you for a few minutes. I acknowledge this happened, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through this in your life. But this is why it happened. Now brush yourself off and get out there and do something for the world. And this energy in Gemini is the part of propelling us forward because it gives us the communication to be able to heal and speak our truth. Pluto in Aquarius. And all of those planets that are now in Aries, Neptune, our connection, our spirituality, our illusions, and our truth. Venus, our values, our love. Saturn, the taskmaster, the disciplinarian, the teacher, the awakener. Sun on Uranus in Taurus, awakening us to what are our self-preservations. What do we do to protect ourselves that really isn't healthy? And how can we protect ourselves in a better way by being open and vulnerable and allowing the trust we need for someone to come into our space, knowing that we'll always be okay because we're in charge of our own agency. Pluto in Aquarius. We're in charge of our own being. And so even if more trauma comes and someone hurts us or dislikes us or we're wounded by something, it's okay because we're strong enough inside ourselves to know who we are, and our self-love is stronger than anything else. Our zen, our peace, our inner peace, our soul space is stronger than anything else. And that's Zenkuda. Zenkuda is knowing that you have such an agency and such a peace inside of you that that is what you run on. And nothing can destroy that. So in this new moon, I'm going to give you a few things that we can do in the new moon. Because now Saturn is going into Aries too, and I'm going to do a whole separate video about that because that's a really big transit. And when Saturn goes into Aries, that's going to change a lot of things for us because, I'm going to just go up here a minute, sorry. I'm just looking at my notes. Saturn in Aries is going to change a lot of things for us because it's going to make us emerge in new spaces. And that taskmaster and disciplinarian that Saturn is, Saturn gives us the framework to stay within something, but it can also hold us back and restrict us if we don't understand why it's doing that and take the healthy route. So Saturn in Aries is really going to make us emerge in new places. So I'm going to do a separate video about that, but what I want to talk about now is the new moon in Gemini. So the new moon in Gemini, like I said, set intentions for learning. You want to be able to, if there's anything that you have been wanting to learn about or anything that you really have been wanting to connect with and haven't had the focus to do it, make that your focus. Because with Gemini, our minds and our mercurial things are going to be very heightened. Gemini energy is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury right now is in a part of the sky that, I'm just going to look really quick at my nose. Mercury right now is going to trine Pluto at this new moon. So this is, like I said just before, you can even play that part of the video back. Mercury during this new moon trining Pluto, and also with other things that are going on. We got Mercury sextiling Neptune and Saturn. So Mercury, Gemini energy is really in play. So that can make us a little jittery and a little anxiety because it's very like fast moving, heightened energy. But it also gives us the intellectual capacity to understand things in a way that we haven't before. Gemini is also an energy of two things can be true. You know, maybe I'm right, but maybe the other person's right as well. Maybe, maybe that is a really light, beautiful blue, and maybe it is an azure blue. You know, it's the fact that multiplicity is a thing. Multiplicity is reality. Things are not always one way. And duality is not always the case. We may have duality, we may have multiplicity. In Gemini, it's accepting that out of our curiosity. Two things can be true. I'm going to allow this person to have their opinion because it doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It means we have to learn more. I'm curious. I want to learn why they think they're that way. That's the energy. But now applying that to Pluto and all of these things coming up and the revelatory type of energy coming in for us and healing, well, maybe this is the part of forgiveness, right? The thing with forgiveness is that we have to see the other person's side. And in Gemini energy, we have the ability for that multiplicity. We have the ability to see more than one thing can be true. So it's a beautiful energy to heal in. It's a beautiful energy to take into our heart space. As far as affirmations or things to really meditate on during this new moon time, and this is on the 27th, the new moon, and I know it's in 10 days, but I won't be doing a Soul Space podcast next Monday, so I wanted to get it all in. So intentions for learning, networking, and self-expression, and that's the other reason why this is a beautiful energy for healing. And I'm going to say from the 20th up until the end of May, utilize this energy because we have the Sun and Uranus, and we've got Jupiter in Taurus, and I'm getting so distracted by the trees outside. I hope you're enjoying them. So we have the Sun touching on Uranus in Taurus, and that's today, the 18th, when I'm recording this. And then further on, when the Sun goes into Gemini, which is on, I believe, the 20th, we have the Sun now in that beautiful Gemini energy, and that's why we have a new moon, because the moon would be there on the 27th. And so when we have that on the 25th, Saturn goes into Aries. So a lot of changes this month. When we have that Gemini energy, that's our ability to see the other side. That's our ability to intellectually ground it into maybe not so much emotion. And that helps us heal. So beautiful time to have those conversations that you haven't wanted to have. A beautiful time to have conversations that can be healing, but also make you feel better about, I finally said my piece. I finally spoke my truth, and I did it without shame and blame. I'm not shaming the other person. I'm not going to allow them to shame me. I know what my truth is. And it's also a time with Pluto in Aquarius of, if those truths have to do with maybe some things that you have felt weren't the best parts of your person, right? The things like maybe you have anxiety, or maybe you're not a good learner, or maybe you have a learning disability, or maybe you have a physical disability, or maybe somebody just always told you you had those things, right? We grow up sometimes with parental figures or authority figures that give us shame because our own uniqueness, Pluto and Aquarius, is not looked upon as a positive, and we're put down and we're chastised. And sometimes we're done that without communication verbally. Sometimes it's just, you may have anxiety, or you may not be able to learn something quickly, and someone gets very impatient with you and is not compassionate. And so what you internalize then is that this thing about you is a bad thing. Your anxiety is a bad thing. It's shame, shame, you shouldn't have it. Your ability not to learn as quickly as others, shame, shame on your learning disability, you shouldn't have it, there's something wrong. And in this energy, and especially in the years to come with Pluto and Aquarius, we have the ability to embrace those things and realize, yes, this is something that I've been given a challenge to overcome, an impediment, a limitation, but I'm not sitting in it, allowing it to overcome me. I'm working to overcome it, and I deserve to be addressed in a respectful way for that, and I deserve to be given kudos for that, and I deserve to be acknowledged for my valor and my bravery and my understanding of myself in being able to live in this world. And we all have those things. You know, people are born with stutters, people are born with, poor vision, or whatever it may be. So look in your life also in this energy, and where are you not accepting other people's little things that are inferior, say, or there are little issues that are not in with the norm, because it gives us an opportunity to really embrace those things that aren't norm, that aren't the consensus. And that's also this beautiful sun in Gemini, moon in Gemini energy. Gemini is about that curiosity, and instead of saying there's something wrong with this person, they can't learn this, or there's something wrong with this person, they can't walk as fast, or there's something wrong with this person because they have anxiety, maybe it becomes, can you tell me what that feels like? Why do you think that happens? Or how can I help you? Or would it be better if we did this? And open it to a curiosity. And that's the healing that can take place for ourselves and all the people around us. And so that's the energy of May. I'm just going to look quickly at my notes and see anything else. So to recap, I'm recording this on May 18th. The sun is conjuncting Uranus at 27 degrees Taurus. Mercury is squaring Mars, and Jupiter is sextiling Chiron. So that's beginning the cycle of healing that we can really start to see. The cycle will begin with a revelation or an insight, or something's going to come up. Sometimes we have to get sick in order to have the healing, right? So thinking of that metaphorically. And then on the 20th, the sun enters Gemini, really illuminating our minds, giving us that energy of curiosity that can really take us very far and also promote our own healing. On the 24th, that same sun trines Pluto, bringing up the deep revelations within us, more things we need to really look at, giving us an opportunity for more healing. And then on May 25th, we've got this Saturn entering Aries, which is a real game changer. That is going to make us start to emerge in new spaces. The things that you've been challenged with now are going to start to really become more enlightened in this energy of the sun and Gemini and all of those things, into showing you where, instead of this thing being a restriction, you can use it to burst forward from your limitation. And we're going to talk a lot about that on my podcast, the following podcast that I do. I may even tape a podcast for Memorial Day, but I don't know yet. I'll let you guys know on my social media. And then the new moon comes in on the 27th. And that new moon, just 24 hours, 48 hours after Saturn goes into Aries, that new moon is in Gemini at 6 degrees. The sun is there. We've got Jupiter in Gemini. Mercury's trining Pluto. We've got Mercury having a conversation with Neptune and Saturn all around that time. So that's a really big burst of energy to give us the insight, the revelations, the things that are deeply embedded within us come up, looking at them, not to have more trauma, but so we can finally understand and go into a space of acceptance and forgiveness and find our own healing path. So thank you so much for tuning in. You can find me on Zencuda on YouTube, Zencuda Soul Space on Facebook, and you can also find me on Instagram at Zencuda Official. Now, if you like my communication, if you like what I'm saying and you want more info about it, I do separate videos on YouTube, but you can also get a reading from me if you go on zencuda.com, my website. I've got tarot card readings available on there, astrology readings. I also can work with you on a series of Zoom calls and things as far as coaching goes and things like that. So hop onto the website and see what we offer, because it's really a beautiful site and I'm very proud of it. So stay grounded. I'm going to take a beautiful walk today, and I'm going to get out in nature and enjoy the rest of this beautiful weekend. And you'll see this video on Monday the 20th. And if you have any questions, put them down below in the comments and I will answer them. And you can always message me on any of the social media sites, or you can also connect with me by email at connect@zencuda.com. Now, I'm also putting together a tarot course. It's going to be a 5-week tarot course with, a course that you do yourself online. And then once a week, we all meet on Zoom and I answer any of your questions. And we talk a little bit about tarot and learning tarot and how to use the tarot as a beautiful tool for intuition and heightening your own connection with your soul space. So that's what my offerings are today. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below, and I'll see you on YouTube and on social media. Thanks so much. Bye, everybody.